Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So what shall we discuss today? Srimad Bhagavatam, which part? Canto 13? No? Okay, good. What? Canto 7? Chapter 8? Verse 18. All right. We will try to discuss this and points that are auxiliary to this point that is brought out. All right. Sa Sattvam Enam Parito Viprashan Stambasya Madhyad Anunirjihanam Nayam Mrigo Napi Naro Vichitram Aho Kim Etan Nri Mrikendra Rupam Sasatvamena Parito Viprasham Stambasya Madayad Anunirjaham Nayam Rigo Napinaro Vichitram Aho Kim Etam Nirmigendra Rupam Sasatvam Enam Parito Viprashan Stambasya Madayad Anunirjaham Nayam Rigo Napinaro Vichitram Aho Kim Etam Nirmigendra Rupam Sasatvam Enam Parito Viprashan Stambasya Madayad Anunirjihanam Nayam Rigo Napinaro Vichitram Aho Kim Etam Nimigendran Rupam. Repeat. Yes? Zatvaminam Vatsam
Sabhasya Madhyadam
ladies, Matajis, Vaishnavis. Marito Vipisham. Sa, he, Hiranyakashipu, the king of the Daityas. Sattvam, living being. Enam, that. Paritaha, all around. Viprasyan, looking. Stambhasya, of the pillar. Majat, from the midst. Anunirjihanam, having come out of. Na, not. Ayam, this. Mikra, animal. Na, not. Api, indeed. Nara, human being. Vichitram, very wonderful. Aho, alas. Kim, what? Etat, this. Nri mriga indriya rupam, the form of both a man and the king of the beasts, the lion. Translation. While Hiranyakashipu looked all around to find the source of the sound, that wonderful form of the Lord, which could not be ascertained to be either man or lion, emerged from the pillar in amazement. Hiranyakashipu wondered, what is this creature that is half man and half lion? How about that? Wouldn't it be wonderful if Srila Prabhupada had taken the time to written some explanation to help us with this? Oh, look, there is one in the form of a purport. How about this? First I will say a prayer, because I'm born in the darkness of ignorance, and sometimes it keeps trying to come back. You know, the defects keep trying to return. So I will say, ask for the torchlight of knowledge. Om Agyanatam Ranyasa Ganagana Salakaya Chaksurin Militanyena Tasmai Shri Gorave Namaha. So if I'm connected with the torchlight of knowledge, I may be able to say something. Just like I may not know what electricity is, but if I stick a fork in the socket, I will find out. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. A demon cannot calculate the unlimited potency of the Supreme Lord. As stated in the Vedas, Parasya Shaktir Vivadaiva Shruyate Svabhavaki Jnana Bala Kriyacha. The different potencies of the Lord are always working as an automatic exhibition of his knowledge. For a demon, it is certainly wonderful that in the form of a lion and the form of a man can be united? Doesn't seem possible. Since a demon has no experience of the inconceivable power for which the Supreme Lord is called all-powerful. Demons cannot understand the omnipotence of the Lord. They simply compare the Lord to one of them. Avajananti mam muda manushim tanum ashritam. Mudas, rascals, think that Krishna is an ordinary human being who appears for the benefit of other human beings. Param bhavam ajanata. Fools, rascals, and demons cannot realize the supreme potency of the Lord. But he can do anything and everything. Indeed, he can do whatever he likes. When Hiranyakashipu received benedictions from Lord Brahma, he thought that he was safe, since he received the benediction that he would not be killed either by an animal or a human being. He never thought that an animal and human being would be combined, so that the demons like him would be puzzled by such a form. This is the meaning of the Supreme Personality of Godhead's omnipotence, or omnipotence. So it seems that, looking at this verse, while Hiranyakashipu was looking around to find the source of the sound, the wonderful form of the Lord could not be ascertained to be either a man or a lion. He emerged from the pillar. In amazement, Hiranyakashipu wondered, what is this creature? Is it half man or half lion? I think, well, it's not in my experience. Can't be possible, right? Think like, here's a pillar, right? I think, well, there's a pillar, right? You smack that pillar, the Lord can't come out of it, right? Can he? You smack the pillar and out comes the Lord in a string of day. See? You know, I think that something is not possible, but if something happens, that's proof that it's possible, right? When something happens, you can't hide that point anymore. But people think if it's not in their experience, it can't happen. Let's analyze this as a philosophy. They say, if I can't see it, it doesn't exist. Can you see the waves that come into the cell phone? Therefore, it doesn't work. If that is the premise, that if I have to see the microwaves for them to work, then it isn't possible for the cell phone to work. So according to that, the premise is wrong. You don't have to see it for it to exist. You don't see the electricity, but you stick your fork in the socket. Will you feel it? Then will your doubt be gone? You can also turn on a light bulb. There may be a simpler way. But the person is thinking, if it's not inside my experience, therefore it does not exist. It's amazing how Prabhupada looks to the future. He says in his books that, well, speaking of that, before I go on to that, that's why I mentioned about this purport, because when I was in Mumbai in 1971, at nighttime, Srila Prabhupada would go to bed and he was translating. No, I would go to bed and he was still translating the 7th canto. And then I would wake up in the morning to do the Mangal Artik, and I would hear Prabhupada through the wall. We had a 7th story apartment in Mumbai called Akash Ganga, the Ganga in the sky. So I would hear him translating in the next room, the 7th canto. And I'd do the Mangal Artik, and Prabhupada would come out and I would hand him the flower. And then at lunchtime, I would go into Prabhupada's room and I would take the commentaries that Prabhupada was very carefully analyzing to come up with these purports. This is why I said, wouldn't it be nice? It isn't like he just pulled it out of somewhere. He very carefully analyzed the purports that he had. He had the Sanskrit explanations given by Jiva Goswami, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Sridhar Swami, and his own spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada. So I would put these books in the shelf. Then I would get Prabhupada's prasadam and serve it to him. Then I would serve the other devotees their prasadam. Then I would go back to Prabhupada's room and I would get the plate and I would clean the plate off and everyone else was gone, so that's what I would eat for my lunch for about 40, 50 days. So I got to experience Prabhupada translating these through the wall. Now we can read these ecstasies in the same room because we are there with Prabhupada translating these. So as we were going back to the books here that Prabhupada was talking about, he says that we can preach through television, radio, and any other technologies that come out in the future. People tend to think that what they have now is all there's going to be, because if I don't see it, it can't exist, correct? That's what they're thinking. The things like the cell phone came from that show, the Star Trek. It was a fantasy idea. And it's amazing what people think can't happen. When I came to Vrindavan in the 70s, I told some of the kids that in America we have a road called a freeway. And on this freeway, we drive 100 kilometers per hour. No bicycles, no cows, no cross traffic. He yelled for his friends. He said, "Hey, listen to this story the Americans making up about a road with no animals and no cross traffic and driving 100 kilometers an hour." They said, "Come on, admit that you made it up. We've never seen this, therefore, can't be true." That's correct, right? If you didn't see it, it doesn't exist. This is the demon's problem in calculating. They're lacking all the factors. Now I told them that you've seen the TV now, right? Now you know this road exists. Now they also have Jamuna Expressway. So this is possible. But it's amazing how people think that some of these things aren't possible. I was talking to someone about how they can come out with new ways of developing energy. They can expand the solar power and they can expand the wind power. And he says, "Oh no, they'll never come out with new things. This can't happen." The big investor, J.P. Morgan, he was going to invest in a new technology. His father told him it was a circus show, it was a pipe dream, and he was a stupid child just to think about investing in this. You know what the technology was? He was working with Thomas Edison, and the new technology was something called electric wiring and the light bulbs. But nobody ever used that, did they? After all, they weren't using it then. It couldn't happen. So just because it is not within our experience doesn't mean that it can't happen. This is the problem with the calculation, that they don't have all the factors. That we see the Lord is coming. He's thinking, he can't be in that pillar. You give Krishna a list of things he can't do. Then he'll give you a list of things that you can't do. There was a joke I saw. It's written on the wall. "God is dead, Nietzsche." Below it, it's written, "Nietzsche's dead, God." So we think that we're going to limit God. Oh, God can't do this, God can't do that. But he can do things. He can do whatever he likes. He can even provide us with mercy. But the demon has all the calculations in order. So he thinks. Look at Hiranyakashipu. He figures, let's look at the factors of activity. He has the place of action all in order. He has taken over the heavenly planets, so the place of action is in order. Himself as the performer, he has done great austerities, and so because of that, he is the perfect performer. His senses are in order because he's controlled his senses. And the endeavor is in order because he is trying to fight a 5-year-old child. So how can he go wrong? He has control of all 4 factors of action, doesn't he? So doesn't he have control? He has to. He has all 4 factors of action perfectly in control. But what is the problem? What? There's 5 factors. That's the problem. He is calculating without all of the factors. And the one he's missing is the big one. Just like when we take these factors into account, Krishna says that he preserves what we have and carries what we lack. In my case, he may do a lot more carrying than he does preserving, but this is not a big deal for Krishna in any form. So Krishna can maximize any things that we do. He can take our ocean of miseries and minimize it to a amount of water that fits in a calf print. He can do this. As it says, he can do anything and everything he likes. So think about that. If God is minimizing our problems and maximizing our little bit of attributes, we're going to do pretty well if we just stay in touch. We have to stick close to Krishna and surrender more. What does it say in the 11th verse of the 4th chapter? That as we surrender unto him, he rewards us. Simple kind of calculation. We're not getting rewarded. We're not surrendering. It's a simple process. But again, it's a process. We can take it up or give it up at any point of time. We can increase or decrease at any time. And we can ask for mercy at any time. You know, I ask Krishna, Lord Nrsingadev, a simple prayer that every time, please remove the defects that stand in my way of my usefulness to you. Or something they call the poor man's prayer. Help me, right? Whatever it is, if we know we need help, we do better than the person who's calculated all 4 factors, but he missed the 5th factor. With that factor missing, a lot of things can go wrong. He's missing that factor. And therefore, he doesn't know what he will do next. Because he's forgetting that Krishna has a nature that is very hard to understand if we're not a devotee. That if we surrender unto him, he makes it easier for us. But what we have to remember to do is look at Prahlad in this situation. Here he is, he's just a little boy. His father is a big, powerful demon. He's got the sword out. So at that point you give up, right? No. We have to remember to persevere, because at any time Krishna can perform a miracle in our lifetime. And if we are open to these miracles, if we surrender to him, he can make these things possible. Does it seem possible that a 5-year-old boy could be saved by God and that he could come out of a pillar? But after all, Hiranyakashipu has the 4 factors in order and he has it all figured out. He couldn't have any problems because after all, he got all of those in order from Brahma. Brahma promised him, you won't be killed during the day or the night. That's got it covered, right? You won't be killed inside or outside. You won't be killed in the land, on the sea, in the air. You inside and outside, did I mention that? Won't be killed there. Not in the day or the night. You won't be killed by a man or a beast. Now I got all these factors covered, because someone has to be either a man or a beast, don't they? Don't they? According to our experience. That's why he's wondering, well, I got it covered because I can't be killed by a man or a beast. I can't be killed by something living or dead. So now I got it covered. So all of a sudden, Krishna appears as a half lion and a half man. He's wondering, uh-oh, maybe I missed a calculation. Can't be a man or a beast. You know, we think we have it all going in our direction. But we should pray to Krishna to remove the defects as they come up. as Krishna says in the 6th chapter of Bhagavad-Gita, let the mind wander anywhere and worry about it later? No, that's certainly not it. He says, from whenever and wherever the mind wanders, pull it back under the control of the self. It is better to maintain our spiritual health than be like Hiranyakashipu, where his spiritual health required major surgery, like the removal of organs. We don't want to take it this far. But this just shows that he thought he had it all in order. But he was missing that 5th factor of action. So the point that we're making here is that Krishna can intervene in our life and he can help us at any time. That Krishna is more willing to protect us and help us go back to home, back to Godhead, than we are ourselves. He arranges ways and means that help. Each thing leads to the next. I saw this in my life because I went into the mystic arts world. Now, first what happened was I heard these people chanting in 1967. They were singing a song. And I said, where did this song come from? They said, well, there's a Swami that taught us this on Pico Boulevard, which this was 67. Even most devotees don't know where the Pico Boulevard temple was. But the people from the mystic arts world that had a health food store and a gift shop and a few other things going on, they said, sing this song with us. So I sang. This song was taught by a Swami named Prabhupada, and it goes like this: Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So I sang this with them. And a few days later, a friend of mine was shooting at some animals. And then he squished a dove, the bird of peace, with a rock. And I said, that's a cruel thing to do. And he said, well, you eat meat, don't you? I said, yes. He said, how many animals do they have to kill for you to eat meat? I said, probably a lot. He said, so does it make me any worse to kill one more bird than for you to eat all those animals? I said, you're right. He said, so it's okay for me to kill the bird? I said, no, I'll never eat meat again. So because I chanted, this is why we go out and chant for people, because just by that chanting, Krishna arranged something that made it clear. We call this a moment of clarity, or a God, what is it called? A God, a what? A Gyata Sukriti. It's a Gyata Sukriti, the unwanted. The wanted is undeserved, but it comes. They call that a God shot. So you'll say, he opens the window for us for something special, and we get this Agyata Sukriti. This is the time to take a hold of it. Sometimes we get some Agyata Sukriti, some special mercy, because we took a step to Krishna. He arranged that. So in the mystic arts world, this shows when Krishna is involved, even the difficulties can be a good thing, because this mystic arts world had a health food section and a clothing section and an import section and a book section. So some of my friends worked in the book section, and they said, can you watch this for 5 minutes? And they wouldn't come back for about 40. So I found this book called Teachings of Lord Chaitanya. And I read in there that bhakti just means we ask God for some way to serve him. So I'd go to my special meditation rock, and I'd ask for some way to serve God. This was in '69. And one day on January 5th, 1970, I was praying for some way to develop love of God. And many of my hippie friends from Mystic Arts, they were actually pretty advanced. They said, someday for spiritual life, we have to give up illicit sex and intoxication, but not yet. Wasn't it the Catholic saint, St. Augustine, said, please God, make me chaste to you, but don't do it yet. We'll do it later, right? So I was praying for some way to develop love of God, and all of a sudden I got this strong inspiration to give up illicit sex and intoxication. Then I thought, well, it's only January. High school is ending in June. Summer is always a good time to give things up, right? It's warm, it makes it easier. Besides, I want to go to one more beer party, and there's a couple girls I still want to date. And then after that, I'll do it later, right? Later. We've been saying this a while, later. Then I thought, it's either a good idea or it isn't. I thought, all right, God, I'll give these things up for you. And you send me a way to develop love for you. And I have my eyes closed and I'm wondering, how will I know? Will it take a week, a month, or a year? And how will I know which path I'm supposed to follow? And I opened my eyes, and as far away as the tumultuary is, was a devotee walking towards me in saffron. And I thought, Hare Krishna, that's what I'm supposed to do? And he came to where I was, and I said, what are you doing here at the beach? He says, well, we were down the street overlooking the beach chanting. And all of a sudden I had this uncontrollable compulsion that I had to go down to the beach right now. He said, would you like to come and chant with us? I said, I think that's exactly what I'm supposed to do. So Krishna will show us ways and means if we're open to it. So amazingly, I started going to the temple, and Prabhupada came soon after that. And the one time I went with the devotees to the flea market, or we sell books and incense and things. And I said, Krishna, I really want to know if this is the right thing to do. I said, give me some sign. I says, I'll tell you what. You send me someone wearing flowers and have that person tell me whether I should do this or not. And then I thought, you know what? That can't be possible. So people don't wear flowers. We do here, right? At the temple, they give you a garland. But who at the flea market is going to be wearing flowers, right? And this man came up. He's looking at this book. He says, you know what? He says, this is good stuff. He says, you should keep doing this stuff. And I thought, that's interesting that he would say that. I looked on, and he had a blue shirt with a pattern of flowers all over it. And I'm thinking, oh, he's wearing flowers. I was thinking that, that this would not be possible to have happen. But Krishna made it possible. So I have to remember that I may be a fault-finding, people-pleasing, and contaminated by the lower modes person. But it is possible for Krishna to help me. Just like that electricity. I may not know that it exists, but if I stick a fork in the socket, I'll feel it. Did Srila Prabhupada ever stick a fork in the socket? He did. It's in the Lilamrita. He stuck a fork in to try that. Prabhupada was fearless. Why is his name Abai? He's without fear. So he tried this. So we don't have to try such dangerous things. We don't have to wait for someone to threaten us before we turn to Krishna. But we can make some other plans. We can realize that just like electricity is hard to conceive of, but if it's connected through wires that are metal and connected to a speaker, we can use it. If it's connected to the socket, there's ways that this electricity can be realized through matter. So in the same way, there's ways that we can realize God through matter. We have the deity form in the temple, appears to be matter, but Krishna appears in that matter. Just like it appears to be matter, but electricity works in this. He is contactable through the holy name. Sounds like letters, but it is actually spiritual. He can be contacted through the Bhagavatam, through the holy Dham, a spiritual place like Vrindavan. He can be contacted through, did we mention the Srimad Bhagavatam? Association of devotees, prasadam, these kinds of things. That the things that appear to be material energy become spiritualized. So even though Krishna is difficult to understand because his nature is contradictory, just like this. Because for us, we're either a man or we're an animal. We're either a man or we're a woman. We're either young or we're old. We're either in America or we're in India. We're either inside or we're outside. We are subject to this law of contradictions. This is why Brahma was perplexed by this. He thought, now, here's Krishna. He went inside this Aghasura, killed this demon, and now he's playing just like a boy. Now, is he God, or is he just a cowherd boy? Which one? Both. He was having trouble understanding this. So he tricked Krishna. Is that true? He tricked Krishna? Okay, he tried to trick Krishna. If he tricked Krishna, the 13th chapter would be called Krishna Vimohan Leela. But just because he tried, Krishna even led him on a little. He went looking for the cows and the cowherd boys, and Brahma says, see? That was proof that his trick had worked, right? Was it? No, he's being led on. He's letting Brahma think that it worked. Because if it hadn't worked, if Krishna hadn't been fooled, he wouldn't be looking for the cows and the cowherd boys. So he's laughing, but the last laugh was on him, of course. It is amazing how these last parts that Prabhupada translated, that it is exactly as clear as some of the early points. That this is amazing. That this is, so Brahma later spoke the Brahma Samhita, and he explains about the nature of God. Advaitam achutam anadim anantarupam adim puranam parusham navajovanamscha vedeshur durlabha adarlabha atma bhakto govindam adipurusham tamaham bhajami. That he is Advaita. He is non-dual. He's achuta. He's infallible. He is anadim. He is without beginning. He is adim puranam parusham, the oldest person in creation. This is why God is painted as the old person. Is God painted as the old person? He is painted as an old person. Where? In the Sistine Chapel of Rome. He's painted as an old man. But what's the use of being God if you have to be an old man? Just because he's painted that way, does that mean he's an old man? This is the trick that they tried to use. That if he is the oldest person in creation, Adim Puranam Purusham, but at the same time, he is Navajovanamscha, always appearing as a fresh youth. You may use makeup, even plastic surgery, but it doesn't come to the same thing. You're not always appearing as a fresh youth. You just look old instead of very old. That isn't exactly the same as Navajovanamscha, is it? No. That's not always appearing as a fresh youth. So this is a pretty good trick to pull off, because he's not subject to that contradiction. Is he a man or a beast? Is he young or is he old? Is he male or female? Is he inside or outside? He's not subject to these contradictions. So if we want to get out of these contradictions, then we surrender to the person who is not subject to these contradictions. Because just as Krishna is going out of his way and coming up with the ways and means to Prahlad Maharaj, even to get around all the benedictions of Brahma, to appear as a man and a beast, inside and outside, killing him with the nails which are not live or dead, on his lap, it's not in the land or in the air, that he is able to get beyond all these contradictions. We have so many contradictions in our lives, but Krishna can remove these. So the factor is, it isn't how many difficulties we have, but how willing we are to have Krishna remove them. Because that fifth factor is the important one. He can make all kinds of little things be the biggest obstacle in the world. After all, a pillar. What can a pillar do? How's a pillar going to stop someone? You can tell that pillar all day long, hey, you're just a piece of stone. What are you going to do to me? And it just sits there like a pillar. And yet, Krishna came in the form of Lord Nrsimhadev and came out of the pillar and stopped Hiranyakashipu. On the other way around, there may be all kinds of great difficulties, obstacles, and difficulties. And Krishna can come and remove them. My problem, though, is that the demons are not on the outside. The demons are in the inside, in the form of defects of character, shortcomings, anarthas, many ways we would call them. So we have to be willing to ask Krishna to remove these anarthas. Sometimes we forget that, or we think, well, the anartha is just like a weed, so I cut the top off and everything's okay, right? Is that it? No. We have to remove the branches and the roots, because we cut the top off, it appears okay for a while, but it grows back again. So we have to, by the process of the holy name. And this is what helps, what's going in the mind. If we're chanting first, whatever we do first thing in the morning becomes the important thing. So, what? Yes, you pay obeisances, you get up, wash off the body, come to the temple, perform the Mangalartik, and then when we get on a call, I get on the bead call before I get on the cell phone call or the computer, I get on a bead call and I concentrate on what is going in, because if I enter that in the fire of the controlled mind, Krishna can purify all the things that are there. It is possible. Krishna says that it may be difficult to control the mind, but it is possible by constant practice. So I have to ask for help. Please remove these defects. And look at the extremes that Krishna goes to, turning himself into a half lion, half man, to come and stop the difficulties. So my demons may be inside, but I have to be willing to look at my own defects and ask them to be removed. I have to see that other devotees may come along, and they may be younger than me, but they may have many spiritual qualities I don't have. So we have to realize that we're all here to help, regardless, and that we have to help Lord Chaitanya, Krishna, and Prabhupada's mission, not to try to create some difficulty, because no matter how powerful we are, if we create difficulties for the devotees, we're going to get our activities nixed. And no matter how insignificant or contaminated I am, if I ask Krishna, please remove the defects and anarthas that stand in the way of my being useful to you, Krishna can arrange this, because it is possible if we take those steps to Krishna. So there are any comments or questions or corrections? Yes. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. As you're explaining, Krishna can do anything, unlimited purpose.
Yes.
So in life, we like a challenge, so we can achieve something.
Yes.
So if Krishna can do anything, what are the challenges for Krishna? What is the solution to having no
The challenge for Krishna. Oh, well. He makes challenges for his Leela, but then he solves them all. But this is something, it's like someone asked me, there must be a formula how Krishna took all the people in Mathura and then transported them to Dwarka. And there must be a formula how Krishna manifests himself as all the cows and cowherd boys. Can you explain this formula? No. And that is why Krishna brings Balaram along, because who did Krishna explain this to, how he manifests himself as all the cows and the cowherd boys? He explained this to Balaram, how he did this. So this is kind of interesting, is that God appears to have challenges, but at the same time, how can he have any challenges? But the challenge is that with us is that we're so contaminated, or at least in my case, I'm so contaminated and there's so many defects that it's a challenge for Krishna to get through. You know, here's the super soul is the witness bird in the heart watching. And because he's not going to force me, here I am eating away the fruits that have already been chewed and they're tasteless. And the challenge is, how am I going to get through to this person? So the challenge is to take us and instill in us a desire to come back to him. But this is kind of a subject matter that is hard to explain. Yes, there's a formula how Krishna manifests as cows and cowherd boys. Yes, this can be a challenge. And yes, there's a formula how Krishna transported them from Mathura to Dwarka. And this can be explained, but it's explained by Krishna to his first expansion, Balaram. This isn't something that we can exactly explain, or it could be explained. Even Einstein, when someone asked him, "Can you explain the theory of relativity?" he says, yes, but not in such a way that you could understand it. So some of these things are beyond our understanding, beyond our pay grade. But it appears that Krishna does have some challenges he makes for himself. It appears that he does have some challenges.
Can I add something from the Shastra?
Yes, of course.
Within Krishna, all contradictions are resolved.
Yes.
So one of the qualities of Krishna is mukta.
Uh-huh.
That is, he's bewildered by the opulence of his own energy.
Uh-huh.
For example, when you look at Aghasura and the cowherd boys, as you say,
Yes.
completely without fear, they just entered within. So in the Bhagavad-Gita there it explains that he was actually surprised, he was perplexed for a moment or two. What can I do about this? So this is the quality of mukta, that Krishna is apparently, but actually bewildered by the action, as you said at the beginning of your answer, by yoga mind, for the purpose of lila. Yet at the same time, the contradictory quality, apparently contradictory quality, is sarvagyam. He knows everything. He knows past, present, future within the material world. He knows the results of lila, whatever. But at the same time, he enters into lila and becomes apparently perplexed, as we are as Jivas. So the acharyas have explained that these two apparently contradictory qualities are resolved within Krishna, and therefore achincha.
It's a chincha.
That is inconceivable.
It's inconceivable. That's hard to understand.
So these subject matters are of contemplation.
Yes.
And we can get a little intuition by
Little.
the grace of Krishna.
That's what's amazing, is that he can be sarvagya, he understands everything, and at the same time he allows himself to be perplexed. Mukta, how is it impossible?
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Because it's inconceivable.
And he's beyond the contradiction.
Yes, it's beyond mundane logic.
And that's hard for us because we're not beyond contradiction. So it's hard for us to exactly understand that. But it doesn't mean it's not possible, does it? Just because we don't understand it doesn't mean it's not possible. That's the whole point.
Well, by the grace of Krishna, we can do it.
Yes.
Understand it to some degree.
Yes, at the end of that verse, Krishna says that it's difficult to understand by studying the Vedas, but easy to understand for the bhakta. So Krishna can make these things that are inconceivable conceivable. But that's simply amazing, isn't it? That he can be sarvagya and mukta at the same time? I mean, how this doesn't even seem possible. But so many things that don't seem possible happen anyway. And the fact that they happen again, as I said, is proof that it's possible.
There's also one thing once Prabhupada was asked, because there's a philosophical question. God can do anything. So can God make a stone or something so heavy that he can't lift it? Prabhupada said, yes, he can make a stone so heavy he could never lift it. And then he can lift it.
How about that, huh?
Another inconceivable, supposedly, occurrence. Krishna herded 900,000 cows every day, so it seems inconceivable. If Krishna with a few cowherd boys, how could they be herding 900,000? That's almost 1 million. But It was done daily. And he knew the name of each cow.
Well, if he knows everything, then he can know the names of the cows. Just because our knowledge is limited doesn't mean his is.
I think one of the biggest challenges Krishna has is as well he can make bhakti-yoga people into pure devotees.
Yes. That is, as I say, that confirmed, that is the challenge, because he gives us free will. So the challenge is to convince us the right thing and allow our free will at the same time.
That's from his mercy.
So we should surrender to Krishna and not challenge ourselves with the, right? Surrender to Krishna, happy, joyous, and free, or become miserable, restless, irritable, discontent, and always unfortunate. Which do we want? Let's see. Yes, one more question. It's way up here. Oh, don't worry, it's a rope, it's not a snake.
Right. We read that just like we cannot see electricity, we cannot see the waves.
Yes?
Yesterday something asked me this question that can you see Krishna? So I said we cannot see Krishna, but we can feel Krishna, that we see that every day he is
Yes.
allowing us to come from Amala, he is making us to stay here. Within our mind is demonic mind, we feel so many demonic things comes in the mind, but he makes us stay here. So that is his mercy that we can see that he is helping us to stay here. We cannot see Krishna, but we see that he doesn't allow us that we should go in different out of this Krishna process.
It's a question of degrees in that. We feel, it's like if you're in the shower trying to get purified, but somehow you still have your back to the shower. We feel the water, but we don't see it. So we're kind of like that. We're in the shower of Krishna consciousness, but because we're turning away from Krishna, of course we don't see him. So as we surrender and say, hey, since this is purifying me, maybe I should turn around and get all the purification, then we'll be able to see. But if I'm like this and I'm over here, I can't see you. But if I hear you, then I think you must exist. So we have some contact with Krishna, but because we're not turning towards him completely, we don't see him. But we can feel a presence a little bit at a time. We notice the difference when, like I say, oh, Krishna, put that defect off to a little later, and I'll sort of kind of maybe chant Hare Krishna. Or I say, okay, Krishna, I really want the defects that stand in the way of my usefulness removed, and now I'm going to chant very clearly so that I can surrender to you and you can guide me in what you want me to do for you. I feel a big difference between that. They say the proof is in the pudding. You feel the big difference. You stick that fork in the socket, the doubt of electricity is over. It's there. It really exists. J.P. Morgan's father thought it's just a pipe dream. It'll never happen. And that's why people don't use electricity. They use the kerosene lamps. I think they use a few out on the Brajmandal. But still, it has become the minor use, and the electric wiring has become the major use. But because it was not within his experience, his father thought that this is a stupid thing. So we have to try to experience it. If we don't try to experience it, it doesn't exist to us. So that is a thing. That's why we convince people. You go to some churches, they put you in the back. They don't talk to you, or they tell you 5 minutes about what's going on and want you to join. We ask people, come and try it. Read these literatures, see what you think, chant with us, try some of this out and see what you think of it. So we say, try it and see what you think. This is where it is. We just want people to try. And when we try it ourselves, we feel something. And if a little bit is good, a lot is better. Jai, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Thank you for putting up with my lack of knowledge and surrender, but Krishna can help even me. Jai.